Buying and owning a house in this country is not easy. It is harder still if you are a black family. The gap between white and black families has always been wide, and now it is at an all-time high. Axel Tercios is live for us in New York City tonight. And Axel, how big is the gap that black homeowners face?
Del, the gap right now in 2023 is about 30 percentage points, and it's even higher than it was in the 1960s. And when we asked the experts about the barriers potential black homeowners face today, they told us that the list is very long, but some of those that they mentioned are mortgage rates, which is determined by credit scores, and also the lack of generational wealth, which at some point could help someone buying a home.
The American dream supposedly includes owning a home, though for many, that is far from reality.
It's more difficult for black individuals to access homeownership than white individuals.
Historically, black families face more barriers when taking the very big step of buying a home. Setbacks generally not the same as white families.
It's important that we don't talk about these things as unfortunate, like a car accident, but we really lean into the fact that they are unjust, that inequality doesn't just happen, it is manufactured through choices.
The Urban Institute says the disparity between white and black homeownership is about 30 percentage points right now in 2023. It was about 27 percentage points in the 1960s, and that number should have gone down after the Fair Housing Act was passed in 1968. The act was supposed to ban racial discrimination in housing sales and rentals, but it continues to be a significant issue.
You don't have the right level of implementation, enforcement, and evaluation, you don't actually get to a different type of outcome. And this is what we see in terms of public policy around race in particular.
Rashad Robinson, president of Color of Change, a racial justice organization, says there are multiple reasons behind the gap. For instance, black students are disproportionately burdened by student loan debt more than white students. This affects debt-to-income ratio and the potential to save for a down payment. The National Association of Realtors finds black households are more than twice as likely than white households to have student loan debt. Credit score is another factor banks use to determine who is eligible for a mortgage. According to Robinson, the process is deeply discriminatory as it relies on choices and opportunities and does not account for the resources that people were born into.
There's not enough accountability and evaluation of the credit industry, and they're able to operate in ways and block people, exclude people from opportunities as private entities, as entities that are not accountable and responsible for the decisions that they make. All of us end up being responsible and accountable for them.
According to John Choi, Senior Research Associate for the Urban Institute, housing disparities don't just present themselves in the current market, but can be traced back generations.
You need more down payment assistance to buy your first home. So a lot of young adults who have a home-owning parents and who have a huge housing wealth, they have a greater opportunity to buy their home at an earlier age in life and accumulate wealth.
Homeownership is one of the most important sources of building generational wealth. If you buy a home early in age, you're more likely to have higher wealth when you retire.
What we found from a study is that when we look at like 20 years ahead and what will happen to the black-white homeownership gap, we saw that the trend would be also, unfortunately, persistent over time. So we'll still probably see around like 30 percentage point gap between black and white homeownership unless some kind of policy is implemented to close that gap.
We can't just be in a just conversation about stopping the harm, but also fixing the harm that was done.
In order to close racial homeownership gap, Robinson says it must include more public policy and clear plans, as well as accountability and real consequences for those exploiting the system.
And that will require investments. It will require us really looking at how do we fix these problems and provide opportunities for communities at scale to deal with the unforgivable past we have of exploitation of communities, of this country reneging on its commitments and in its compact, of redlining, of exploitation, of targeting, of banks.
We do collect information in our annual survey, and we ask about experiences in the housing market, such as steering, which still may take place even though it is illegal to discriminate based on race in housing.
Dr. Jessica Louts, Deputy Chief Economist at the National Association of Realtors, says that if the current discriminatory practices continue to go on, future generations will feel the impacts.
For their children, for their grandchildren moving forward, they may not be able to rely on intergenerational transfers of wealth. And that's what we see for successful home owners and buyers, is to be able to transfer down that wealth to future generations. And so that's lost out on.
Del, all the experts, producer Mike Nolasco and I spoke to, agreed on one thing. They say that in order to help people buy a home, especially black families and other people of colors, there should be an increase in affordable housing and also more regulations over the credit industry. Del.
Axel Tercios, Force Live in New York City tonight. Axel, thank you very much.